Right, ladies and gentlemen, we should talk about the series of today. G2 versus Fly. I think FlyQuest, I think Inspired is just one of the best junglers in the world, best Western player currently. I think he showcased that in this series. I think G2 is just a one-man team right now in terms of the level that is being presented. I think Labrov was fine in the first Alistar game. I think this draft is insanely weak. I think when you pick Maokai, there's no access to Yone. There's no good pairing with Maokai. Maokai and Cassio as an answer into Ryze, which means Ryze can just buy Mercs and just have a good time. Cassio as a pick into Ryze isn't some kind of a hard counter. It never was. Ryze can interact well, can trade, can push. The main thing is, it's like you can fight back in some moments, and it's a skill matchup, but it's not like some kind of hard counter. And when Ryze is a Pantheon on his team and the enemy jungler is Maokai, there is nothing to be done. Like you have the freest Mercs access of your life with Ryze, better itemization because Cassiopeia, the Road of Ages build is just not good in my opinion. I think what Shanks did today in Game 5 was good, but in this series, Whippo was playing super well in the Sion game. He was outplaying Cassio on side, meaning Caps on side, so that's where he got Caps' number. But it's very clear that Caps is playing with an intention as if he's trying to really carry the game because it's necessary. I think it was necessary. I think Aatrox, I haven't seen a single European Aatrox that has been good so far outside of Whippos. This Aatrox was very tame. Jin game was whatever. That's the only answer that Hamasama likes to play into Varus. And then the enemy team like G2 banned Rakan and Braum. I think banning Braum is really troll. Banning Rakan as well. Like here you need to remove fucking Kesante and Sion so you don't get just countered by tanks completely. And at the same time, I don't like the answers from BB into tanks, which is another weakness of his, in my opinion. And I think that's a problem. Someone in chat is asking, what if he went Ornn? Yeah, then Mercs are even better. So that's not possible. The draft with Maokai just locks him in too hard. Maokai pairing makes sense when they pick it with Yone, because that's the only good AD mid, and then you have something going on. Like, for example, CFO in this game with Ornn, Xayah, Rakan, Maokai, Yone. That could have been a good draft. Or like that for game 1, the G2-1 was Varus, Maokai, Yone, and the 1-2-3 with Jax Rakan to follow up. It's just not that strong in my opinion, not that strong, you know. In game 2, FlyQuest, I think that, you know, in this one, I do think once again that Aurora here just tried his best to fucking carry the game. I think that Skimond, it was so clear to me that G2 would play so much worse in an elimination match than they did against G2. I said that in my breakdown, I said that in my prediction, and I think it's very true for Skimond in particular. Skimond is playing, by definition, like a KDA player, very afraid, playing screens away, doesn't have any aggression, doesn't have any teeth, doesn't land any Q flashes. Always his ult combos come from a Q into flash R, or it never gets the Q damage off, which is a problem. You need to push it forward with Vi. You need to like dance back and forth. You need to like posture and actually space against the enemy. This is what we see from everybody else, you know. That's the main thing. And I think that in this game, Quad was pretty damn bad. I think FlyQuest, one problem they have, I think, as the tournament continues for them, I do think that Quad is so much weaker than the other mid laners in this tournament. Like I think Quad is going to be weaker than Hongq or Knight or like maybe against Faker, it's not going to be a problem because that's somebody that he's going to be playing against. But if he's up against Knight, I think Knight is going to annihilate him. I do think that Quad looked good on, for example, Orianna. That was one of his better games. And Ryze. I think Orianna and Ryze was his two best champions. So we'll see more about that. This particular game, I think Busio absolutely did crazy things on Bard. When I saw this live, I thought picking Bard is kind of crazy when AD doesn't show and enemy showing Rel. They did die 2v2. They got double killed. But in the end, Busio did crazy things on Bard. Honestly, mechanically on Bard, a really insane Bard game. Really well done from Busio. Garen as a champion against Kesante works well as a counter. My worry about Garen and generally as a champion is that he has to scale. He gets really powerful level 16 when he gets 2-3 items. 16 is a really important breakpoint. But I do think that Garen as a champion can definitely, you know, have a place. In a game like this, Wing the Vi damage is important. I think in this one as well, Caps tried his absolute best to carry. He sniped like Senna's neck a couple of times. Maso as a player, he is showcasing moments where he gets caught, like in the Varus game. like a Ziggs game that he played in the AL series or in this one in particular. He's playing well, he's pushing forward, but you know, there is like he goes over the edge a couple of times and he doesn't have like that crispiness about him, I would have to say. But I also think I wanted to highlight Hansam was fed in this game, got double kill as I mentioned before, but he got caught by bot ultimates, got caught in fights. It seemed like in this series, FlyQuest were just team fighting 10 times better than G2. And I think G2 just mechanically and individually just weren't available today outside of Caps. In the final game, we had G2. You know, it ended in a very depressing manner. Like there was a dive that happened. I can show you. It was just like the most deflated game 3 ever, which is very, very on par. If you guys remember the finals that G2 played, the game 3s that they played, if you think back to them, they had the Urgot game with the trash. Like the third game against Koi was super ugly. Third game against KC was even uglier. And this one as well was very nasty. Look at the Trundle loop around here. Bwipo is going to walk away, flashes the Q damage. Skewmont could maybe W into E, into hold, into hit, and then Q after the flash. I think he could have played this better. But then look at Inspire just trapping him. He has also, you know, Orianna coming through. Busio came through because they're looking to swap of the base, and they just cracked his neck. And then later on the lane swap here, we're going to see a scenario where they're trying to dive the Yorick Mori on ball lane. So Broken Blade. So yeah, Whip was under the turret. And then Labrov hooks, they're trying to trade ahead of time. He gets chunked. Should be a very free dive, but Skimon just walks into the turret. What the fuck is this? My man couldn't keep it in his pants. And then he just got bonked by the hammer and didn't W, didn't reset, didn't do anything. And Whippo basically 1v3s them while Cho'Gath dies on top. You know? Busio is the one who tanks and Broken Blade gets an eat. But the cost of this is just way too severe. And then the game ends in a way where G2 actually gets some moments. They kind of fight back. Caps gets a kill. Broken Blade is in good condition. But then we have this situation where Caps are just pushing out top. He's just pushing out top, guys. He's pushing out top. And G2's backing off. It's as if they decided they're not going to contest this Drake. This is still a Drake 4. Caps is just hitting top turret. He's 16. Sure, you can TP, whatever. G2's pushing forward to spot people. And then here Labrov does a good job of not hooking. G2's making them waste time. Kali gets free time to push. And here, for some reason, Labrov just hooks in. For some reason, hooks in. Akali has the TP. Labrov insta-dies. He's hooking in. And I don't know. Like, this game is perfectly playable. But they just shit the bed completely. And in the end, Masu just clears them up. And then G2's Nexus explodes at 28 minutes. G2. Like 07. But like, I think this was one of the most predictable downfalls ever. You know, there was a hope in me that G2's like coaching staff could maybe work miracles. But at this point, you have to also think about G2 at internationals. They fall so flat often because of their prep work. In the beginning, their prep work is so insane, but then it falls so flat later too that I don't know if I can praise it anymore, especially at the World Championships. We saw the first World Championship 2023 when they went there and they just got clapped by Draven, Kalista, Orianna bans and just ran out of steam. And then we had 4 games straight of the Orianna Nocturne into dropping Mickey. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's like, there's some questionable things here that you need to have accountability for in the end, you know? So that's super, super tough. But FlyQuest, way better than G2 in every way possible. G2 looked like Fnatic does against G2 last year in this series. I didn't really feel like G2 could ever win a game, honestly. And I think that Caps was so lonely today. Caps was insanely lonely. The second series though, AL vs GenG, played some fucking high-level League of Legends. I think the standout players to me was Keen. Keen was an absolute monster. Keen was my MVP of the day. I think on AL you can choose Shanks or Tarzan. I think they played mind-whopping, like really good series, better than their counterpart. I think Shanks outperformed Chovy on the day. besides maybe the last game. In game one, AL just came out swinging. They were way better in the skirmishes. This is something that I highlighted in my breakdown. I think that AL did like in terms of LPL and the playstyle, the skirmishes, meaning the 3v3s, the 2v2s, how they contest the in-between, LPL is way more active on this game. I think that this is something that AL is just way in tune with. They're playing with teams that are willing to take every damn fight, and they made it all the way through here after a very long season of best of threes and also best of fives. So they are very ready in this department. In game one, the skirmishes fell in AL's favor, and they had a very good game, to play for themselves because they had a lot of engaged tools. Hope was absolutely crazy on the Kaiser, absolutely delicious level of gameplay. He just sniped Ruler over and over again. But the skirmishes, AL got ahead and they never let go because GenG need to keep fighting with their comp too. In game two, GenG bounced back. I really like the Nocturne lock-in here. Twisted Fate just keeps the loose streak going. I think Gwen is something that he can safely lock into Flandre as an archetype as a player. I think his answers into Gwen are not going to be that good. Jax in this game missed 3 melees on the first wave because he was defending his camps for the Poppy. Flandre is not a good selfish player. That is his weakness. Keen is way more well-rounded. He's capable of playing the carries and the tanks and the weak side. But Flandre is best on Rumble, on Yorick, on Sion, on that type of a style. Smolder today, he played fucking insane. He also has that goofiness about him. Like this is very old school Flandre where he's always cooking up counter picks. But in this one in particular, I think that, Jax was falling behind. Nocturne is a very good pick here in particular because it counters Twisted Fate. Twisted Fate with his rapid fire cannon can't find the autos because of the blindness against Nocturne. And also it's an AD jungle that works very well against Poppy because there's no way the W is going to work. Someone asked, would you take Flandre 369 as top? Flandre is what 369 was in the past. Minus maybe the Renekton and Aatrox gameplay, and more on the goofier side. I think Flandre is just a way better player currently. And then the follow-up was Ezreal and Braum. I just think AO's composition is a little bit too wonky, and GenG won out in this one in particular. Marvelous performance from Keen on Gwen. Follow up into game 3. In game 3, I think also GenG's draft is just phenomenal. I think there's a very hard Trundle game to play. It's good against Vi in isolation, but giving up Taliyah for the sake of picking Varus, I think is simply not worth it against Chovy. I think Chovy's best champ right now is Taliyah. I think he even said so himself. And then Vi together with Taliyah is just too powerful of a combo. I think you can first pick Taliyah and then suddenly you play Taliyah Trundle. I think that's a little bit better. But then maybe they're thinking Trundle is not good against Ahri, which is what they will match. And then they struggle in the jungle department. Maybe that's the thought process. But then maybe you switch up your ban and don't ban MF. Maybe you switch up, the Xayah ban too, because banning Xayah for the sake of Varus is also troll, because you just make the Vi stronger. I don't think it's the greatest. The Ambessa, clear follow-up when you have Vi already showing. Ambessa is really good against Trundle, really good against Sion too, in my opinion. Follow-up here, the strategy from AL was to ban every AD possible with Xayah, MF, Lucian, Zeri in a game 3, which is a strat, and then Ruler came through with the Ziggs, which made sense. Rakan not the best lane together, again to the Bard, but it doesn't matter. Rakan just wants to play with Vi Ambessa. In this game, I think Shanks did a fantastic job of keeping them in the game. He was really fed, but then there were a couple of fights that GenG kind of figured out the game and the fights real time in a beautiful manner. GenG game 3 versus AL. They figured out the game real time, which was beautiful to watch. They realized they just need to keep Violed always for the combo. Shanks got monster ahead in some of these team fights. I'm just going to show you guys some of these team fights. They were absolutely demonic. Look at this one, for example. This grub fight that he took here, which is absolutely vicious. Take a look at this. Canyon really misplays. He queues forward, ults onto, of course, Hope here. Then he follows through on him. Hope kills him. And then in the end, Kin gets contact. He just ults onto Kael and goes. But take a look what Shanks does here in the back line. Look at that. Boom. Boom. Gets E on Chovy. And then he flashes over. I mean, R2's over. gets the kill, and then look at the step back there on the W. It's just fucking insane, insane mechanical play, man. Really, really good, man. Really, really good. And then later on, the fights extend. Shanks gets another good one, if I remember correctly. Let's take a look here. I think here, this is one where KL just gets queued dry by Vi, which is not the way you can start the fight. Because KL dies just without enemy using much. It's only Ambessa ultimate. And then he dies and gets CC chained. And then the follow-up here is that Sion tries to snap. And then on the back end here, Cannon being allowed to kill KL there without using ult is also a big deal. He queues Shanks in air, and Vi ults as a follow-up. Shanks gets out. And then in the end, you got a nice, beautiful Talia wall here to lock them in. And they continued. And then Kin just goes under the turret to trade for the 1-for-1. Gives another kill for Shanks, of course. Then the team fights kind of just went in GenG's favor from this point onwards. They kind of figured it out. Shanks, you know, the main struggle, in my opinion, was that they didn't really get... I guess we had this fight as well, where Ruler just got caught. He got cut off by Shanks here, and he got hit, and he just died. Very dry and flat. And then the bot ult. Here, AL tried to break the position of GenG through the front door, which just didn't work. I think it was just too tricky for them, and they needed to figure out ways to flank for Shanks. This is the one. I think they needed to be like, I think they are positioning wrong. I think Sion should be the one grouped, and Shanks should be on Sion's position. And then I think it would have been a lot better. Right now, Shanks wins everybody in 1v1. He can flank and be insane, level 17 with so much gold, 10 Dark Seal stacks. He's OP as all hell, but he's trying to just go through the front door, which made GenG's game so easy to play. I really didn't like that. Even here, just Shanks staying through the front door, and GenG, Chovy, and Ruler could just throw spells from one direction, which makes it very easy. You never want to let the mages play in the front to back, and you see AL are just all grouping on the same square meter, which is a big mistake. Tabis for sure gonna flame them for that one. And then the bottle doesn't land. That was the only way for them to break, and Canyon's pushing Flandre out because Vi has percentage damage and you know, the armor shred on W, which is a really big deal. And AL still tried to go through the front door, and Keen just baits them to... He just made himself look delicious, and he just baits them. And once again, he just baits them. Tarzan can't really get contact, and the game is just over. Keen with a fantastic game. This game 4, I thought GenG just had a very good draft. I thought this Javan game would be impossible to play, and I thought that Smolder would be in trouble against Kesante and Nafiri ganks. I thought that Caitlyn Karma is going to dominate the Nico lane, but these things just weren't true. Flandre got to scale, and then in the end there was this situation where we had a game 4 that was absolutely vicious, I have to say, from Tarzan. Absolutely menacing. There was a situation around Rift Herald, where basically GenG, after being ahead and 2-0 on Caitlyn, going to be the situation. In this situation here, they are just... It's a very bad contest. Because if you look at the details of what we got going on the map, we can already see that Silas doesn't have prio, Galio's first. They are late to enter here. Keen is not connected. GenG very sloppy. Very, very sloppy with this one. And in the end here, GenG are just too late to contest. They're too late to the party. They're entering, you know, Dick Bush vision with nothing. Kael finds a beautiful snap. Ruler cleanses and then walks out and is forced to flash. So in this particular scenario, you have AL getting the Rift Herald and getting very important summoners. And in this window, even though they are slightly behind on gold on AD, it doesn't really matter that much, because right now, Caitlyn, just because she has this little slingshot, she actually doesn't have any completed item. So Javan having flash here, he knows, of course, what he needs to do. He needs to just engage onto the Caitlyn, who has no sums. And here he finds the angle, and we see the crazy wombo combo from the Galio and the Javan. They pull it off against a very mobile composition. And the main detail here is that Caitlyn and Karma don't have summoners. Let's listen to it with the casters.
Chovy spotted. Shanks looking for it. Tarzan goes in. There's a Hero's Angel, Cataclysm, Marba, and that's the wombo combo that anyone's legends were looking for. Keen goes all out, dashes forward onto Hope, and will get the kill.
And now in this context, there was a very big problem here that Chovy also burned flash, and Chovy was behind. So there's no initiative now on side because Flandre is too tanky and it can actually wave clear very easy, and Galio is actually stronger than Chovy at this point in time. And then you have Tarzan being on 2 core, being super, super bulky and strong. And you can see now in these trades that Shanks is actually winning. Keep in mind, Chovy is playing Grasp, and his economy is kind of in the negative right now. And then Chovy eventually is going to get ganked on bottom side. He's going to die, and then he face checks into River too, which was pretty bad. Let me show you guys. This is the one where Chovy just gets caught in River. Very, very poorly. Poor gameplay by Chovy. He has no business being here. Just feels suffocated in the game. Caitlyn's on top wave because of YamatoCannon being in that position. This is poor form. He also gets ganked later on in the bot lane. Very good play here on the YamatoCannon because GenG just open on top. And they're not showing. They're just opening on top after pushing out top. And they just leash it because they assume the enemy is going to open on bot side. This is a very clever play to do. I really, really like that. I really, really like that. I think the Grasp Silas is just does never come online. I think the Conqueror, like your champion's designed around Conqueror, I feel like almost. You have this fight, and at this point, Smolder is just fully stacked, and the issue is the economy. I'm gonna go snap back, look at the items. 2 core Galio, 2 core Javan, and 2 core matched on MMF, and I think the economical advantage is like never look at the gold. Never look at the gold as an advantage. Look at champions and look at inventories. Because sometimes people would buy garbage items, sometimes they're in between, you know, and they only have components and they don't have any combat stats in their inventory. Never, don't get misled by this. This should always make you look at this. And, you know, sure, Ruler's 1k gold ahead, but he has a slingshot. You think that's going to matter? No, it doesn't matter. Always look at inventories. Recipes are what really makes you strong in the gold advantage. And now Shanks completed recipe, Javan completed recipe, they're just stronger because they just have better items. Might seem rational, but people often look at the gold, you know. And that's GG, baby. And that's GG. Took us to game 5 of this one. And this one, I have to say that I think AL's draft is a little bit too Zootopia. I really don't like this. I think the Ryze first pick makes sense considering all the mid laners that are out. Cassiopeia as an answer, I'm not super big fan of. I think that this top side is very powerful, and I think that this is they are really exploiting, I think, the weakness of Flandre here. I think the boldness to pick Camille, the boldness to pick Gwen, the boldness with the Ambessa into the Scion, this is Flandre's weakness. And I think Keen can really, really leverage that super, super hard, you know? This is super important to highlight, in my opinion. And I think the Cassiopeia is a denial. I already talked about it in the previous series with the Cassio with the Maokai with G2. But I think this is just a goofy comp. I think Blitzcrank, I was calling. I thought that GenG are gonna ban Blitzcrank because I thought AL would 4th pick Blitzcrank. Because right now the answers to Blitzcrank are not there. There's no answers to Blitz. I thought they're gonna ban Blitz here on 4 or 5. They ban Elise and then they get the Blitzcrank themselves. The answers into Blitz are non-existent here, guys. All the supports are out. There's no Alistar, there's no Braum, you know. It's just there's nothing left. I thought they're gonna 4th pick Blitz here. That's what I expected. Because there's also no mobile AD left either. Keep that in mind. There's no more mobile AD. You could maybe pick like Tristana. I don't know. Because Renata ban is fucking strange, I think. And then here, even though I didn't think Xayah is that good of a pick, it's just Ruler's Giga Comfort. I don't think Xayah is that great into Cassiopeia and Koki. Very hard for you to trade with them. But at least you murder objectives, and if Blitzcrank ever gets a hook, you also murder that too. It's just Xayah is a meat grinder, right? Xayah is just a meat grinder. I think this top side here against these champs, I think they all buy Mercs, and I think they win. I think they all just buy Mercs, and then the game explodes. This game, I want to highlight something, because this gank is so psychotic and so good. Because I just want to show you guys the impact of this gank, okay?
To camp lead.
So Shanks got level 1 ganked by Camille, which borderline ruined his lane, but he recovered because Tarzan pushed Canyon out and burned his flash. Now you're in the loop. So now Chovy is playing the matchup as per usual. Shanks is trading back and forth because that's the matchup, but he has refillable potion advantage. Chovy, so he has an extra little ruby crystal in his pocket. Take a look at this gank timer mid. Skarner bases, and then there's a ward here in River that Sejuani dodges. If you guys look at the minimap, this ward placement destroys everything. That's first, okay? The ward placement doesn't spot Sejuani going into the bush. Next,
and push is able to get
Canyon.
that ward out.
This Casio is so close to 6.
Shanks with the early flash. Canyon's here for
You see that minion that is 1 HP? Shanks gets 6 now. Take a look back here in slow-mo. Look at that one minion.
That ward out. Canyon.
Look at that one minion, guys. It's his 6. That minion on 1 HP right now. That is his 6. Shanks is paying attention to this. And I think that's why he really tilted in his reaction. And I think that's why he flashes the way he does. Because he wants to fucking petrifying gaze here, bro. It is incredibly, incredibly narrow. But here Shanks gets 6, dies, and he flashes too. You can see his reaction. I don't think GenG calculated this, but like, it's so close, you know. It's so close. I think Chovy's, they are aware. I think they are saying, let's gank you before 6. And I don't know if they know exactly that minion, or if they think one more minion. Like, it's crazy.
So close there to 1.
And I think this breaks the game completely. Because Chovy now has flash into a Casio that has no flash. Chovy gets base on Catalyst, gives him initiative, and then here comes the grubs. And I think that they can't fight because, like, AL have no mid laner. Look how isolated Shanks is. He's under the turret. Xayah moves all the way. Like, here you just give these up. I don't know why AL decided to fight this. Really don't know why. Tarzan just wanted one grub at least. Gragas TPs and Casio limps into the fight. And Ruler gets a dream fight on his Xayah even. Because the enemy is just face checking into him, you know.
GenG are looking for more. Hope down. Shanks and Prandre trying to retreat, but the Hexagol ultimatum will lock them up. There's the Blade Caller to follow up, and Shanks is dead. Prandre tries to jump the wall, and just as I was saying, it would be so good for anyone's legends.
It's tough, man. Breaks my heart for Tabe, man. Breaks my heart for Tabe. GenG gave a big fight back because they kind of trolled, if I'm going to be honest. But after that, Keen, Duro also. Like, Duro just fucking popped off on the Blitzcrank, bro. He just inherited Lehen's right arm completely. Completely inherited his right arm. Absolutely vicious. This was a wonderful series to watch. Wonderful series to watch. This is one of those series, like, this series deserves a deeper dive. This series deserves a deeper dive. A lot of fun shit. Let's talk about tomorrow's coming matchups. In, of course, MCoy versus, of course, CFO. And then we have T1 versus Billy Billy. Let's start with T1 versus Billy Billy because my thoughts around them are a little bit fresher. We are in it's a very weird juxtaposition, guys, because I think that Doran is playing better than Bin. I think that Owner is playing better than Beishwan, even though Beishwan, like, played a good game 4 and 5 against Billy Billy, against MCoy, I think. I think that Knight is playing way better than Faker. I think Faker is not performing so well currently, in my opinion, while Knight looks to be in, like, good shape, good form. The main concern for me with Faker is that his champion choices are quite predictable, and I think his current champion pool isn't deep enough to actually, you know, create counters. Because even in this game, I think he suffered a lot. He fell behind really, really hard on CS. I think in the game 5, as Oriana looked solid. I think this was the best game he had in the series. But other than that, I think there was always a target on his back. And I think that Faker is the biggest question mark for me in this Bilibili series. Additionally, I thought that Gumayushi looked worse in this series than he did in the playoffs of LCK. I think that Keria kicked into gear as the series progressed. I think his poppy game was insane. I think that his trash game, I think this is just a troll draft. I don't know how they ended up here. Like the Swain pick was genius from CFO. I feel like T1 can clean up their game. Like if I expect them to perform better, right? T1, what are the things that I can see that they do better? I think Keria and Gumayushi can perform better from the get-go. That's something that they can adjust for sure. And I also think that draft-wise, they can also adjust. There's certain holes that I don't think they want to be in ever again. And I think the main difficulty that they have to face is how do they figure out bot lane? I think T1 tried some gambles, like for example, Kalista Renata into Kai Wing because they're flipping that CFO don't want to play range champs and then get smacked by Lucian Nami. Like that's a thing, right? That's a thing. Here in this game, Faker went like 1-7, and I think the main issue is just Faker seems to be dying to every gank on side, dying to every gank on mid, and he's playing insanely aggressive in lane at all times, and he just seems so desynced in the game. I think if Faker, if the enemy team don't have enough time to like pressure him on this weakness, then maybe things can go look different, but I do think that CFO kind of bailed them out with the weaker draft here. And T1, in my opinion, I think they underperformed in this series, while CFO performed insanely well, in my opinion. And then in the context of Bilibili, I think Bilibili's bot lane has been playing damn good this tournament. I think On is playing really fucking good. I think On is playing really good. I think TSM fans are delusional. They're just coping in chat with this take. Oh, he only plays good when it matters. I don't want to hear this anymore from T1, guys. I think this is really silly. Bilibili has a good advantage, the fact that they have played 10 games already on stage. I think that matters. Being on stage at 3 different times also matters. I think that Elk has been solid. I don't think Elk has been disappointing. I think Elk has had some really good games. Like this Kalen game was tremendous. I think his Misfortune game was fucking nasty. I think in a world where, like, at this tournament, the AD carry level is not that high, in my opinion. Like Hansama, Masu, Ruler, they're all making, like, mistakes. Gumayushi is making mistakes. Elk is up there amongst the best. Like, Elk and Hope are, like, probably the 2 best performing ADs at this tournament, in my opinion, so far. Right? Someone in the chat is saying Masu is the best performer, but I can assure you Masu wouldn't even say that. Masu in this game 4 was absolutely atrocious. I think that Masu in the Jin game was solid, I think. In the game 1 on the Senna was good. But Masu has also made mistakes. Even against G2 today, there was 2 times on Varos he got caught on mid-wave. I think he got murdered. I think that there were times, like in the Senna and the 2v2, he was weak, but he kept up in souls, which was really good. Masu best Western ADC. I think honestly, Super has also made a name for himself. I feel like Super was really good in the Bilibili series, honestly. I think the Varos game, he was really good. I think Super probably is like the best Western performer, but we need to see him in another series against CFO, I think. We need to see him in another series against CFO. But back to the conversation about T1 Bilibili. Everything I've seen so far, I have to say, I do feel like Bilibili look a little bit better. If based on everything I've seen so far. I didn't think that T1 played as good as I expected them to against CFO. So there's still a step up that T1 can make, in my opinion. There's a weirdness in the fact that Bin is playing quite poorly, or did so in the MCOY series. So that, I feel like, is an opportunity, because T1 showed that they are capable of shutting down a player of Bin's archetype. Bin's archetype being the Zeus archetype. And I think that's a very big plus. in terms of, like, I think that T1 and Bilibili don't play the same level of League of Legends as GenG and AL do right now. I think there is a lot of situations where people get caught. The fights there are a lot of unforced errors. Someone in the chat said, you're forgetting that T1 never loses to China. T1, last MSI, lost to China. The MSI before that, lost to China. Even at Worlds, they lost to top esports. 2022, MSI, lost to China. Like, T1 has lost to China plenty. So let's not run with, you know, the Los Ratones, like Kadril Twitter. I don't blame Kadril. It's just that Kadril's Twitter just has all the worst Twitter takes popping up there because it's just such a big base and it's Twitter mixed. So it's just crazy, you know? You're forgetting that they only lose when they want to win. Yeah, that's a good way of making me angry. I feel like this could be very, very close. I feel like this one is insanely hard to predict. But my gut is leaning towards Bilibili right now. My gut is leaning towards Bilibili based on form. I feel like T1 is going to need a little bit more time to ramp up. I think T1 can still perform better in the jungle support. I think they are going to like the support jungle can carry more weight in a series. I think that's really important because on this team they really need to. They really need to. And I do think that T1 have an angle through the shutting down. I don't think Knight is going to challenge Faker's champion pool like Honkyu did. Bilibili's locked 2 mid-bans every game. It's like, if anything, you can say that maybe he doesn't want to play Azir. But Knight plays everything. Like, Knight is in really good form and he plays everything. And then maybe you can say that his Azir is questionable, maybe Yon questionable. TF also, but... like, when did T1 ban TF? When did T1 ban TF, brother? They didn't. Knight can for sure go band for band. Knight is just currently the better player than Faker. So, I think T1, they have the makeup to actually shut down Bin. I think that's really important. And then On has been playing super well. Keria needs to match that or overperform that. And he's capable of doing so. Like, Owner and Keria should be the big advantage here in this series. They need to be. They really need to be. But I didn't see that magic enough to the level where I expected T1 to be like a contender potentially at this tournament, you know? The reason I put T1 as potentially the second best on the same tier as AL and Bilibili was because I expected Keria and Owner to really step up and keep really high form. Because they need to, right? They really need to. Current Faker is maybe like 4th best mid laner right now. Honestly, I think that you can make like the mid laners at this tournament have played pretty damn good. I think Honkyu had a wonderful series. Like, I think you can put Honkyu above him. I think Faker, I think Quad has probably performed worse than Faker. George Pune has also been fucking good. Caps was amazing, but he's out. Like, the mid laners have been performing their face off. Shanks has been the best. Chovy is probably lower. Like, Chovy might be like 4th, you know? Like, the Korean mid laners have not performed super well at this tournament so far. But obviously that can change. But to my prediction, like, legit, I am like 55-45 BOG. That's like what I'm leaning towards. Like, I feel like Bilibili has better form recently. And I think, honestly, it's such a big advantage that Bilibili went through, like, play-ins. Play-ins is OP. Play-ins is OP. It's so OP, guys. Really, really OP. Plains is OP, I think. I think that's like such a big edge. I don't care that they played against weaker teams. It's just they get so much volume and they understand themselves, very comfortable on stage. I think it's so, so massive. Now for MKOI versus CFO. I think this can be a banger fucking matchup. I don't think, like, I'm probably, like, I think MKOI could beat CFO. I really think so. I think they could beat CFO. I don't think it's as one-sided, because I do think that it's easy to overrate them based off of that T1 series. I think it's very easy to do so. Because they play against T1 and so forth. But I think T1 was very flawed. Very, very flawed. And I'm just looking at the eye test. CFO individually are really, really good. Junjia, you know, Junjia, I think Honkyu and Dogo are really, really good individually. I think Kai Wing is predictable, but I think that Alvaro and Elioya, I think as an engine, I do think that they can deal with this well, you know? I feel like currently, even though I think MKOI, I've always said this when it comes to this tournament, I don't think they necessarily have a higher ceiling than a lot of their teams, a lot of the other teams, but I just think MKOI have a very, very high floor in terms of their draft understanding, in terms of who they are, in terms of their team play. And I think CFO is very, very sporadic. And I think that really, really matches up to T1 super well. But I think that Koi can add some structure to the game and also be more consistent in their draft approach towards their strengths. I also think that Jojo is a lot more stable around mid. And I think that Jojo plays better with Elioya and Alvaro, which I think makes MKOI's early game better. I also think that Alvaro and Supa played super well in the bot lane matchup against Bilibili. And I think the series can get very interesting. Guys, T1 underperformed in this series. They did. They like you guys need to understand that teams are capable of underperforming. GenG played pretty bad in this game one. AL played pretty bad in this game one. T1, I think they underperformed in the majority of the games here. And they really, really kicked it into gear during game 4. And I think CFO did a lot of impressive things. Like game 2 was insanely impressive, the way they snowballed. But I think there's a level of risk that CFO play with that can get dangerous. And I just have a lot of faith in the MKOI engine. I think it's reasonable to call that CFO wins. But I think this series can be just as close as the other one. Immediately trying to defend T1 over one bad series. Who are you talking to? I hate it when like people jump into the stream after I've been talking about the matchups for like 20 minutes. And then he just said something so vomit-worthy in the chat like this. 6 a.m. So it's like, if I'm going to drop a prediction, right? If I'm going to drop a prediction, I don't know, bro. My gut is telling me MKOI, bro. My gut is telling me MKOI, bro. I think MKOI is going to win. The only thing that makes me nervous about this prediction is just how MKOI were in such winning positions. And I feel like CFO can capitalize on that. That's the only scary thing, is that MKOI threw 2 winning positions against Bilibili. And I have a feeling that can happen again. But Bilibili team fighting is so fucking special. I don't think it's the same. I'm legit like 52-48, bro. That's where I'm at. I'm gonna say it, bro. I'm gonna trust my guts here. It's 5 in the morning, but I'm gonna trust my gut. I'm gonna trust my gut here, bro. I'm gonna go with my gut. I'm gonna go for it. That's it. That's it. Super has been playing well, bro. Super has been playing good. Super has been playing good. Georgia Pune has been playing good. I feel like they are strong in the right places, man. I really feel like they're strong in the right places. I really think so. I feel like Koi is strong in the right places to compete with CFO. I think this series is going to be an absolute fucking banger. And if CFO wins, so be it. I can see that fucking happening. But I don't know. I feel like Koi is strong in the right places. I think so. Like the main thing, Koi, if I want to see them improve something, is the sharpness of how they pull the trigger. I feel like Alvaro was alone there, you know? Alvaro was alone. And usually he has Elioya with him, you know, in terms of how snappy they are and how fucking good they are at pulling the trigger. They need each other. But I expect Elioya to bounce back. But I think this series is going to be fucking amazing. Tomorrow we have insane League of Legends coming up. And I think Alvaro is going to carry that series tomorrow. There you go. I said it. Let's shut off the damn stream, guys. Fucking the sun is coming out.